Welcome back, everybody. It's time for another installment of Friday Q&A. I'm playing the Green Meanie. This is a guitar my dad made. Check out the crazy Tree of Life inlay on that one. And for all you ardent observers, my actual last name on there, shock, horror, Todd isn't my real last name. Shh. Don't tell anyone. It just makes things easier for all this kind of stuff. What's been going on? I hope you're all well. I got a chance at some point over the last week or 2 weeks, time is doing weird things at the moment, to actually play some music with the Ragdoll guys, and we all got in a room together. We were socially distancing, of course, and we played some loud rock music with some drums, and we actually recorded some of it. Big thanks to friend of the channel, Troy Nababan, for hooking that session up and for engineering it. I'm going to put a little clip of some of the stuff we did right at the end of this video for your viewing pleasure. So if you want to see that, you can either wait till I answer all the questions, or you can just use the magic of your internet browser and go and watch it right now. Otherwise, I've been well. I hope you've all been well. I'm going to answer some of your questions. And we're going to start. This is a question from my private Facebook group from Christian. By the way, if you're not a member of the private Facebook group, I'll put a link in the video description. I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook. I'm going to try to keep up with that group just a teeny weeny little bit more from now on, so you can ask me questions in there, or post videos of you playing, or post questions about kind of things that I wouldn't normally get to on the Q&A. So feel free to jump in and join that one. But this one comes from Christian. It's about Dimarzio pickups. Do I have any guitars with Dimarzios? This one has Dimarzios. It doesn't have a super distortion, but it does have a tone zone and an Air Norton. Basically, the only reason this guitar has those pickups is because someone was selling the pair of pickups for like $50. This is probably 7 or 8 years ago now, and I love Paul Gilbert, and I know that he used that pickup selection for a while, so I grabbed them, and they sound really good in this guitar, especially for those kind of, late 80s, early 90s tones. So pretty cool. I do have Dimarzio HS3s in my YJM Strat as well. I really like those. I don't have any in any non-Strat style guitars though. I should probably rectify that, because they do make some pretty cool pickups. Dimarzio's Duncans were kind of the only game in town for a long time, but now there have never been so many great options for pickups. So I've just kind of given up trying to keep up with it. I don't really go down that rabbit hole too much anymore. Having said that, the Fishman Fluent stuff is pretty cool new tech. I did try those recently, and my buddy Martin A. Smith makes some great pickups here in Perth. If you've heard my Sunburst Les Paul, I've got a set of his PAF style pickups in there, and I love them for that vintage thing. So thank you for the question, Christian. Another one from the private Facebook group. This one is from Enum, and talking about the Evertune bridge. Now, if you're tracking and the Evertune keeps you perfectly in tune, is there any point in double tracking in that situation? Because I guess when you're double tracking, part of the effect is that, you're always going to be slightly in and out of tune on different tracks. I think in that case, inconsistencies in timing would still give you that, super wide doubled effect anyway. It wouldn't have as much to do with the pitch. And then, if you're pressing slightly harder on the fret on a particular take, if, you're playing through an amp and you're hitting slightly harder and it's sagging a little bit, there's going to be a lot of other factors in there. So that would be my take on that. But it would make for a pretty good experiment. At some point, I do want to get a guitar with an Evertune and play around with it. So I'm going to write that on my long list of things to try when I do try a guitar with an Evertune. Speaking of pickups, I was asked about Zex coil pickups. This question comes from Russell. I don't have any direct experience with them, but I do know, if you've checked out Camilo Volandia's videos, incredible playing. Go and subscribe to his channel right now. One of the best guitar players on the planet, and his YouTube content is fantastic as well. I know he has a bunch of guitars with Zex coil pickups, and they sound pretty fantastic. So that would probably be a good question to go over to his channel and ask him about the Zex coils. All right, No Mojo mentioned that anytime anybody mentions Molly Hatchet, I have to play some Molly Hatchet. So I'm going to play some Molly Hatchet for No Mojo. That's another reason I like the Tone Zone. Pinch harmonics, really, really easy. The next question comes from Joshua Floyd. Brian Howe era Bad Company. This is kind of a funny question because firstly, yes, I do like it. Brian Howe, fantastic singer, but the very first interaction I ever had with Ryan, the singer and bass player from Ragdoll, this is over 10 years ago now, on MySpace, the song that he had on his MySpace page was a Brian Howe era Bad Company song. And basically, we got in touch over MySpace. It's like, hey, we should do something and play some music. And I was like, well, what do you sound like when you sing? And he said, a lot of people say I sound like Brian Howe. And that was a pretty good comparison. Ryan's voice, like kind of anybody's voice, has changed a lot over time, and it's changed kind of to cater the style of music we play now. But back then, he absolutely nailed the Brian Howe stuff. And there was one of those songs that we play, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but that was pretty serendipitous. Thank you for reminding me about that very first interaction I had with somebody who I've spent so much time with. Brian Howe era Bad Company, go check it out. Brian Howe, great singer. Some of those songs are really... Question about the lockdown jams. The electric drum kit that Cam is playing is a Roland TD12, but as I said in the kind of breakdown I did for that lockdown mix, he's playing the TD12, but he's recording MIDI out of it, and then I'm using the Slate SSD5 Chili kit on everything. You can go and watch my lockdown mix breakdown video where I show you how I got all of those sounds, and there will be another one of those coming over the week, which I'm sure a lot of you will enjoy because it's personally probably my favorite Ragdoll song, and I know it is for a bunch of the other people out there. Who did that question come from? That one comes from Robert. Bunch of you asked this question. Have I seen the Ratt commercial and the fact that they're in the Billboard charts now for Round and Round because of that commercial? I have. It's pretty funny how things work, and yeah, I mean, I dig that song. It's pretty funny that there's like no original members except for Stephen Pearcy, but I'm going to try to play Round and Round. I forget the next bit. We used to play Round and Round in the early days with Ragdoll as well. The next question from Solar Guitar Studios. How many guitars did we use on Back to Zero? And this question made me think. Basically, my PRS single cut is on every track on there. I remember on Shine, we used my McCarty and my Custom 24 for a couple of other parts. And then one kind of thing we almost always do on all the Ragdoll stuff is I use my 335 with a fuzz pedal to double up riffs in various sections. So there was at least 4 guitars. I used my mirror on a couple of tracks. I think The World You Gave Us in the verses, so that's 5. And yeah, no doubt there were a few other guitars. I kind of remember on that one, we sat down and we were like, okay, we're not going to go too stupid with the number of guitars we're going to use, but we are going to go stupid with the number of amps that we use. And we did use a lot of amps on there. So I would probably say that realistically there's probably like at least 10 different guitars on there, but probably more than that when it comes to different amps. Jason asks about Dangerous Toys. What do I think of them? I like Dangerous Toys, but anytime I think of Dangerous Toys, I think of a venue that we played in the States a bunch of times in Topeka, Kansas, at this place called the Booby Trap. And every time we would play there, the bar owner would say to us, "We sound like Dangerous Toys." And then he would tell us this story about Dangerous Toys playing at his bar. Without fail, every time we played there probably 4 or 5 times over a couple of different tours. And then he would put Dangerous Toys on for the whole night. So Dangerous Toys now reminds me of loading out from this venue at like 4 in the morning. So, obviously the band has nothing to do with that. Go check them out. They were, again, so many of these bands never got the attention of like a Poison or a Guns N' Roses, but they had some good songs. This one is from Who's Your Daddy? Great username. Have I ever played a Robin guitar? No, but I used to spend a lot of time on the Will Cut Guitars website, just drooling at guitars and always looking at their used Hamers and PRS guitars. And I noticed that the Robin stuff popped up quite a bit. Yeah, I think the guys from Slaughter played them, and never played one directly. They look pretty cool. They do like a kind of telly style thing that if I was going to get one, I would probably lean towards that thing, but no direct experience with the Robin guitars. For me, the guitar from that era that always caught my attention is the Hamer Californian. I've actually got strings on my Californian. I'll play it for you. Before I do, this question's from Mario. He asks about whether the McCarty is thicker than the Custom 24, and yes, it is. I don't know if this is a very scientific comparison. It's probably really hard to see right there. Maybe if I put them side by side, I don't know. I could do this. This is really scientific. About that and about that. You can probably contact PRS directly and they will tell you exactly what the difference is. So, but yeah, the McCarty is definitely thicker than the Custom 24, and the single cut, I believe, is thicker again than the McCarty. So depending on what you're after in terms of thickness, I'm sure there are a couple of options. And cool about mentioning the DGT, because I really want to find one of those one day. I like the fact that they've got 3 controls on there, which is, I think it looks pretty cool. I'd really like to try one as well. But yeah, McCarty, thicker than Custom 24. So this to me is like the ultimate 80s shredder guitar. Boomerang inlays, ebony board, 27 frets that, I never used 27 frets. This one got a stainless steel refret recently from Tim at MT Guitars, who actually sorted out a small issue I had on my PRS McCarty over the week. So big thank you to Tim over at MT. Hopefully now that in Australia anyway, the lockdown stuff is easing, I'll be able to make a bunch more content with him, and we've got some cool ideas kicking around for guitar stuff. But this has a Dimarzio, single coil size rail humbucker in the neck position and a Seymour Duncan distortion in the bridge. Are you allowed to mix pickup brands? I don't know. Let's see. Oh man, I'm not. How did I get onto Hamer Californians from Robin Guitars? I will never know. And the last question this week comes from, it's me, the Seventh Seal. That is a kind of tricky one to pronounce. About the York Audio, the new M25 cab pack. I was lucky enough that Justin sent me one of the beta releases for that. And I had to play around with it because I love 25 watt greenbacks, and as you noted, there is a little kind of nugget in there. I made a mix IR for that cab pack. So you should go and get that cab pack and support Justin and everything he does, because his IRs are amazing. At the moment, they're probably my favorite commercially available IRs. And yeah, he does great stuff, and he's got a whole different selection of speaker cabs, which is pretty awesome. He's somebody I would love to get on the channel one way or another. Maybe we could do like a Zoom call and record it. So if you guys would like to see that, let me know in the comments, and I'll try tee it up because that could be kind of fun. He is a lovely guy, great player, and has some pretty cool stories to share. So I'm just throwing him under the bus now, and let's make him do it. Anyway, that is this week's Q&A wrapped up. Thank you for all the questions. If you have any requests for future videos you would like me to do, let me know in the comments. If you have questions for next week's Q&A, get them in the comments. And as I said at the beginning of the video, here is a really rough cut and a rough mix of some live in the studio ragdoll stuff for you all to enjoy. Or not enjoy. You don't have to watch it. I'm going to say goodbye. Stay safe. Be excellent to one another. I'll see you next time.